welcome to my weekly blog, Le Ricette di Giovanni, where we get together, talk about opera, pasta, and this time is going to be pasta, and tenor Giovanni Consiglio. Without further ado, I would like to introduce you to a tenor that I know him since he was a kid. He comes from Tampa. I am very, 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 very fond of him in so many ways, not only in a vocal way, but also in a personal way. His name is Thomas Massey, and welcome, Thomas.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. It's awesome to be here. Yes,
I must say, I was probably the first one when you were singing as a baritone that I told you that you were a tenor.
You were? Yes.
Yeah. That was a few years ago.
It was such a disappointment, you know, because I was so looking forward to being able to sing all these great baritone arias and roles. And then about 2 years in, you told me, you know, you're not a baritone. So, but at least we found that out when I was younger. It's good to make those changes when you're younger. So,
right.
I remember very well. Yeah.
Well, let me tell you something. First of all, as a tenor, you will have an easier life. You will make more money. Okay.
You'll be more nervous. You'll be more nervous. They don't tell you that.
Okay. Yes. You guys have those B flats and high Cs that you have to hit. Obviously, this is this takes a little bit more of skill. But I must say that first of all, I hired you last year for the 25th anniversary of Teatro Grattacielo, and you did wonderfully. And I am hiring you again this year to sing with us. The part of house in Mefistofele, in Boitos Mefistofele, I should say.
Right.
A part that really, really fits you very well. And I mean, yes to you as a tenor. I have heard you in so many roles lately and so many things. And I want to say also something else that I think is very important. Thomas comes from a very musical family. His grandmother was a big deal. Some years ago, she was a great soprano, a great neta. She sang all over the country with the biggest singers you can imagine.
With Giovanni Consiglio.
I know.
Giovanni Consiglio. So
I know. She sent me some pictures of him.
The photos,
yeah. They did Pagliacci together, right?
Yeah, they did Pagliacci and I think Butterfly as well. It was Cincinnati Opera actually used to be at the zoo. I think that year it was at the old zoo, and yeah, they did all these operas and lots of funny, cool stories, you know, that came out of them. And she said he was just as a tenor so secure with his top notes. I mean, you know, normally it's something all of us get kind of worried about or concerned with, obviously, because people are, you know, they want those notes, you know, let's be honest.
Right.
And they want to hear them, you know, we got to be real. Like, I mean, they want to hear you want to hear the C, you want to hear the B flat. And she said that with Consiglio, I mean, just the ease of his top register, it was like nothing for him. I mean, he could probably hit them in his sleep. I mean, it was so easy and such a good technique. So yeah, it's kind of cool, like when you hear about that.
Wonderful. So listen, given that we're talking about Giovanni Consiglio, what are you going to be cooking for us today?
Oh wow! So today I'm going to be making a pasta alla gricia. It comes supposedly from the town of Griciano. I tried to look actually for this town to see if it still exists or where it is. It's obviously in like the Lazio region of Italy, you know, close to Rome.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I was unable to find it, but it's very close to Rome, very close to Amatrice, which is where the Bucatini AMATRICIANA comes from.
Right.
And this pasta really, for me, I kind of discovered it actually, you know, we have so much time to cook and be home right now. I kind of discovered it by accident online. And I tried it once and I just said, oh my God, where has this pasta been my whole life? It's amazing. It tastes good. It's got all of the key ingredients that are going to be in, like, you know, carbonara, cacio e pepe, bucatini alla matriciana, but it's actually the older of all those dishes. You know, tomatoes weren't really introduced to Italy until, like, I think after the New World, probably 1600s, 1500s. And so, you know, and then the kitchen, I don't think tomatoes were used in the kitchen until like the 19th century. So it's kind of cool when you see these old recipes that required lots of cheese, pepper, things like that in them. And it's really a very pastoral dish. That's how I would describe this dish. Lots of pecorino, guanciale. I mean, it's salty on the saltier side. Yeah.
You got me in the cheese part already. But before we start cooking, I would like you in a few words to tell me something that has always fascinated me. How did you decide, and what made you decide to wake up one day and to say, okay, I will be an opera singer?
Wow. That's a big one. There's so much to it. How do I answer that? I would say, it was a lot of little cool things that happened. It wasn't like there was like this big, I'd say if I had to say one big moment, it would be the master class. I did a master class when I was 21. You were actually there for that master class. It was with, Louis Ellers was there, Lombardo, the associates, the agency was there. What was his name? Not Castronovo. What was his name?
Casanova.
Casanova, yeah, Casanova.
The tenor.
Casanova was there.
The late tenor, yes.
Late tenor, a great tenor too. And yeah, all these people were there, and I remember up until that point, opera for me was more of a hobby. It was something that I did for fun, something that was kind of to pass the time while I was in college. And I really hadn't considered it. I'd done St. Pete Opera, I'd done some of the young artists programs, but I hadn't really considered pursuing it full time, because at the time I didn't really believe I had, I thought, there's so many good singers in the world, what do I have to offer this world, that maybe someone else couldn't offer? I had very kind of low confidence when I started. And after that masterclass, and working with you, working with, Louis, doing this, I'll never forget it. It was just when they were like, you know what, you need to come here. You need to go to college. You need to pursue this art form, perfect it, and do your best to get out there and have a career, because you have all the tools. And that just gave me this huge shot of confidence, and that I still have to this day. And that really made me say, you know what, I can go out there, I can do this, I can make the transition up. And that's what happened. I'd say if I had to say one specific moment, it would be that master class. So I was 21.
Oh, I didn't expect that, and I'm very, very, very honored
Yeah.
to be part of it. I mean, I know we know each other for such a long time, and I know your family. I know your grandmother. I know your grandfather, who was also a tenor. I know your mother, who was a mezzo soprano. So
right.
I feel very honored. So let's go back to the cooking part. What can you walk us through the ingredient, please?
Cool. So when I cook, I'll tell you one thing. I always like to prep all of my stuff in advance. I think it's the key to cooking anything with success and well. Always try to prep your ingredients. So I'm going to walk you through the ingredients. We have the main course. Any good pasta dish, I believe, is a good pasta. You want to get good pasta. You don't want to, get the dollar pasta. You want to try to find something of good quality for obviously a reasonable price. Right. For me, it's going to be Alfeltra Gragnano. This is a pasta that comes right out of Gragnano. They actually, I think, puts distilled water inside of it as well, from like one of the mountain ranges and the Amalfi Coast. And it's absolutely my favorite pasta. And you can get it for, I'd say, a pretty reasonable price. Italy is normally my supermarket of choice where I would go to for it. And it's really, really great pasta. The second ingredient for this, obviously for the cream, or not really cream, but yeah, it's like a sauce, is the Pecorino cheese.
Okay.
This Pecorino here is grated. And the Pecorino cheese, it's a very salty cheese. This dish is going to have a little bit of salt, a little bit more bite to it, than say like, I don't know, fettuccine alfredo, which I don't really eat, but it's going to have more bite. Yeah. I don't really like that very much. I'm sorry. But I love it when people try real like pasta dishes from like, Italian traditional ones, because they always like, after I tried them, I could never go back. Like for me, that was like, that was the epiphany. I knew that I only wanted to eat authentic Italian food. And when you get this cheese, I will say there's a lot of supermarkets that carry like the fake cheese. They'll carry something that they pass off as pecorino, or something that it's like imitation cheese. I'd say stay away from it. Do your best to get, if you see the black label on the back of the cheese like this, normally, especially in the Pecorino Romano, this will be on the back always. It's like a wax coating, and that's how you know you're getting the real deal. So yeah, Pecorino cheese. The black pepper, I like to crush it before. Wow. I like to nice and crush it. I think it just brings out more flavor, more aroma, really makes the sauce taste better. And then this ingredient is probably the most challenging to find of them all. It's going to be guanciale. Now, guancia is the jowl. It's the cheek of the pig in Italian. And this here is actually going to be a cured meat. It's going to be like almost like a bacon, but it's better. It's going to have pepper inside of it. They put garlic in it as well. Sometimes thyme, sage, things like that. And it's a really, really lovely meat. If you can't find guanciale, it can be sometimes challenging to find. You can always substitute pancetta, bacon if you don't have any choice. But I would say if you can, try to find the guanciale because it adds this different flavor to it. I mean, the meat has been sitting obviously in the spices, you know, and the herbs for a long time. And so when you cook all that fat out of it, it just adds this like amazing quality to your pasta. So this is not for the faint of heart. I was telling you earlier, this year, it is going to have definitely a lot of fat, a lot of cheese in it, you know. You might have to run after you eat it the next day, take a run.
Fine.
take a good, take a run the next day after eating this. And I'm going to show one more ingredient here. It's kind of my own personal choice to add this. The authentic recipe for this dish does not call for the secret ingredient. I should make that known. I don't want to offend any people from Lazio who maybe are very specific about the way they want this done. But my secret ingredient to this actually is going to be Parmigiano. The Parmigiano, because you got to keep in mind with this dish, you have Pecorino cheese, you have Guanciale. Obviously, that's going to create a lot of salt. You know, you have a lot of saltiness in your mouth, like when you're eating this, which I think it's fine as is. But I think the Parmigiano, in my opinion, at least when I've tried it both ways, the Parmigiano adds just a little bit of a softener to it, you know, gives a little bit of sweetness, a little bit of nuttiness. And I think that really enhances the flavor. So yeah, that's about it. I'll show you really quickly how I cut the guanciale, if that's okay with you, I guess. I'll show you really quickly. Everything is prepped. For the guanciale, what I like to do.
Can you put your camera, can you switch your camera because I cannot see what you're doing?
Yeah, I'm getting it a little for you. There you go. All right. So for the guanciale, I don't know if you can see it, but I put two strips.
I cannot see it. You have to put it a little bit more down. And a little bit more.
It's kind of tough to get the right angle on this one.
Yes.
Sorry.
Okay.
Oh. It's kind of a tough one to get the angle right. I'm sorry, this camera is not great. But what you do, you take two pieces together. I'll show you. Two pieces together like this for me. I lay them straight down, and then I cut them into very tiny strips. Very tiny strips. Like so.
Okay.
And when you cut, always use your knuckles. Don't cut like this.
Right.
Be careful. Anyway. I don't know about a pro. Here's the thing. I think I'm such an amateur cook, but the thing I will tell you and all the other amateur cooks, I think get good ingredients if you can. Try to get some quality ingredients because no matter how amateur of a cook you may be, if you have great ingredients, like they're always going to stand out. Right. Anytime you cook in general, get good ingredients. But especially for me, I feel like, you know, I'm just a singer who kind of picked up some cooking along the way. For me, I always do my best when I serve food to people and my friends. I try to get the best ingredients I can, you know. And so, and I think that's really this Italian tradition. You know, when I go to restaurants in Italy, you always get like these very good quality ingredients, simple ingredients, but good quality. That for me is the best of the Italian cooking. Cool. So anyway, I'm going to start my pasta water now.
Okay.
Give me 1 second. Okay. I'm going to start my pasta water. Gonna move it. My house has a lot of light, so I apologize if there's it's kind of a little bit blinding. But
no, it's totally fine actually.
Now for the pasta water, you want to add just a little bit of salt. You don't want to go crazy on the salt because keep in mind we have Pecorino cheese, we have guanciale. There's so much salt already like in those ingredients, so much fat that's going to come out. You don't really want to add too much salt to this. So I put just a little bit of salt into the pasta water and then a little bit of olive oil too. So just a dash of the olive oil. And I'm going to put a dash of salt, just a little bit, not too much. Okay. Not too much.
Wonderful.
So we're going to start this, get it cooking. I always like to use also a nice big pot when I make the pasta. I feel like it cooks it better. For a good al dente on this is a dry pasta. So it takes sometimes a little longer. This recipe is very like, we say dall'occhio, like by the eye.
Right.
You kind of have to eye it. But for me, I generally find that it's about maybe a 12-minute cook time in this water. And then afterwards, I mix it in with my guanciale grease and cook the rest of it. So now we're going to render the guanciale. I'll get this started for you. Now for the guanciale, just take my camera over here. You don't need to add any oil, butter, nothing to this. This is already very, very greasy as is.
Right.
Nothing is going to need to be added to that. Don't add any oil or nothing. Just put that right in the pan like so, and all the fats are going to gradually start to cook out of it.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah. So actually, put that on heat. 1 second.
If you can switch your camera a little bit so we can see your kitchen. There.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, this is the, I'll kind of give you a little tour. So yeah, we have a really nice kitchen here.
No. I meant if you can put it so we can see your stove where you're.
The stove. Oh yeah, gotcha. So obviously the water is going to be working in a second. We got to have the water boiling. This is going to start to cook very, very quickly. Now for the guanciale, you got to be careful not to burn it. It's very, very key essential to this recipe. You don't want to burn your guanciale. It's going to cook very fast. I'd say for me, 5 minutes, maybe 4 minutes. Sometimes 6, but again, eye it. You got to keep an eye on it to make sure it's not burning. So check that out.
High flame, right? In high flame.
Yeah, high flame. Definitely a high flame.
Okay.
Medium, honestly, even a good medium, I'd say would do it.
Yeah.
So
why don't you put your phone on the other side of the sink? There, and we can see you perfectly, and we can see everything. Yeah, perfect.
Is that good?
Perfect.
So yeah, allow this. Can't really see it yet, but the grease is already starting to cook out of there.
Right. So
we're going to keep an eye on that. Have a timer. It's always nice to have a timer when you're cooking.
Yeah.
I'd say allow it maybe, again, like I said, 4 to 5 minutes for cooking for this guanciale.
Okay.
Yeah.
In the meantime that the guanciale is cooking, I want you to tell me a little bit, all of us, we have experienced some COVID-related losses or restrictions, or tell me a little bit about how do you live your COVID-related experience.
I mean, the big thing, obviously, is losing a lot of singing jobs, which is very challenging. Yeah, there were several losses that happened. Fortunately, a lot of them seem to be happening next year. Like there's a plan for rescheduling for the next year. But yeah, I mean, it's difficult, obviously, But I think whenever these kinds of things happen, it's a time to look at yourself as both a performer, as a person, and like grow, So for me, I was like, I have all this time now. I always complain about how you never have time to study. You don't have time to like do all the things that you want to do. And so for me, I use this time to just learn a lot of new repertoire, study, work on the arias, maybe coach a little more. There's so many coaches doing the virtual coachings now, and obviously save money. We talked about this, I think, a few months ago, and how like, it's so important, I think, for singers, like as much as possible to not run with the Joneses, save your money, do your best to like, when you're on the road and you're out, don't always go out and party and drink and be crazy. Sometimes it's better, like, just put that money away and save it somewhere and keep it in the stash. And, this kind of time always reminds me of like why I did that. My grandparents really made sure that I was, prepared for things like this. They always told me to save the money. You never know when you're going to need it. And, thank God, because now you need it, so stay okay. So anyway, I want to get back to the cooking.
Yes.
As you see here, it's already starting to form a line.
I cannot see it. Can you bring it a little bit up? There, yes.
It's tough to get everything, but it's right there.
Yes.
And it's already getting really nice and cooked as it is. I'm going to say maybe another minute, and it's actually already pretty cooked through. I'm going to put my vents on because we're getting a little bit of smoke. But yeah, about like I said, about 4 minutes. I don't know if you can see it or not, but like.
Yes, I can see it.
Now, I'm going to take a stop to it.
Okay.
I'm going to stop the guanciale. This here is actually your sauce waiting to happen. The leftover, the grease, everything that's basically left over from that, that is your sauce. Basically, after we add the cheese, the pepper, but we'll get to that in a second. Let me just take the guanciale out.
Okay. You're so proper. I love the way you pick up the guanciale.
Yeah, it's important.
Absolutely, I agree.
Anyway, so I show you really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
It's a nice brown. The thing is that with the guanciale, like, it's very, very tricky because you don't want it to be too burned and you don't want it to be too soft. Something kind of like right in the middle. And the thing is, it's going to get a little crisp. It will get a little crisp because of the fats that it's cooking in.
Right.
So again, all those flavors from those fats are going to be in that pan. They're going to be lovely, especially when you add the pecorino and the black pepper. So anyway, I'll put this away for now. My pasta water is taking a long time to cook. So give me a second. I'm going to put it on the higher heat.
Yes, yes. And in the meantime that the pasta is cooking, you know, I have some more questions for you.
Talk to me.
So, you know, I have never been able to, to my regret, to see the last production that Coppola in Tampa, in Opera Tampa, did. His composition, his last composition, that you were the main tenor. I was part of Sacco e Vanzetti, and I know that opera pretty well. But I would like you to tell me a little bit about his second and last opera.
Oh my God. It was, for me, the greatest artistic experience I think I've ever had, honestly. I mean, to be able to work with him, to have his energy with us every day. I mean, I'm sure you can attest to this, is that one thing Coppola had so much of was energy. It would be amazing how at the end of, you know, after we sing for, 2 hours or so, we're so dead, you're tired, you can't wait. You're like, oh my gosh, I need to rest this and go home and sleep for the night. And Coppola would just have so much pep, like even after like 2 runs of, we'd be rehearsing all day and he still wanted, he's like, no, how much longer can we push this for? Can we get the orchestra to stay later? Can we go to someone's house, because there's the unions at the orchestra? What can we do to just keep rehearsing? And to have that kind of energy on set with you and that kind of support was just, it was for me one of the again, probably the greatest experience I've had in my career up to this point. He was so supportive. He threw challenges our way for sure. He definitely, sometimes, there'd be a new piece of music and he'd send it to you the night before and say, hey, I thought this would be better. Why don't you try this?
I know all about it. Believe me, I know all about it. Yes.
but his support, the whole way, and you knew that he wanted you to like do the best you could. That made you want to like work extra hard for him. So I loved it. It was amazing. It was very different. It was very avant-garde. I think it was very, like, compared to Sacco and Vanzetti. Like, Sacco and Vanzetti is just so Italianate, and Lady Swanwhite had this very kind of dissonance to it at times, and totally different, which also shows his range of style, being able to compose in 2 very, very different ways. So yeah, he was the best. I really miss him.
Wonderful. And I want to share first of all with you that during rehearsals of Sacco e Vanzetti, his wife Armerinda, one day at the hotel, she told me that he used to drive her crazy because he would compose during the night, and he would not sleep. He would just go on and on and on until 5 o'clock in the morning, and then he would go to bed for a few hours. He would wake up and he was ready to go.
Oh my God.
And I mean, we are talking about 100 and something years old, which is pretty incredible. And you were in the cast with Maria Brea, right?
That's right, Maria Brea. She's the best.
Maria Brea
is awesome.
Yes, we have her as Olga in Fedora.
Yeah, she is the best colleague. I'm going to throw a shout out to Maria Brea. She's a wonderful colleague. I remember on stage, because keep in mind, when I sang at Opera Tampa, there's a lot of, all my friends and family were there. Obviously, the Coppolas, like Francis Ford, all of these people were like right in front of, I could see them from where I was at on the stage. So obviously, a lot of excitement, but you're a little pressure, nerves, but I was excited. I'll never forget it. I was there with Maria on stage. We were sitting at a table, and she just kind of looked over at me and she said, you're just doing great. And I felt like, again, when you feel that kind of support from your colleagues, man, that can really carry the day and make you want to just perform that much better and be that much more engaged in your character. And I'll never forget her doing that. And it gave me such support and enthusiasm to sing with her. She's amazing. Yeah.
Obviously I get the feeling that you were, when you know that everybody that you know is in the hall and they're looking at you, and they are, they're expecting you to do your best, you feel a little bit nervous. And you're touching a point that it has always been great for me too as a performer. When you have on the stage great colleagues, obviously your job of storytelling becomes much easier, because let's not forget that we are instruments. Our voice serves a purpose, and the purpose is to tell a story.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I really thought I was going to come and see that opera, but I was somewhere else. And I had always had that curiosity to talk to you about.
I was looking for you at the after party. I was like, "Where's Stefanos?" But you should have been there, man. What an experience! What
was far away.
Man, and it's always been crazy how long we've known each other for. I forget. I've known you for almost 10 years, I think. 11 years maybe. More than that. And when we for our productions too, when we did Viva la Mamma in Florida, it was so cool having this kind of cast of people that I knew very well in Florida, but then also all the people I'd known from New York, and kind of combining together in this small place. It was such a fun production, man.
Yes.
We need to make another one happen or something.
Hopefully soon. Listen, the pasta, is it boiling or is it still?
Yeah, the water. Sorry, the water is finally starting to boil a little bit. Normally I was gonna boil it in advance. I didn't. I apologize to the audience, but yeah, it's definitely starting to boil now. So I'm gonna throw in my pasta. Yes. Again, this is gonna be about. I hope we have time for it, but it's gonna be about let's say 15 minutes. 15 minutes roughly for the pasta.
Okay.
We have time?
Yeah, we should be fine. Yes.
Okay, cool. So I got my pasta boiling now. It's in here. And we'll just wait for a few minutes. About 8 minutes in, I'm gonna start working on my sauce for it, which is gonna have the pecorino, the guanciale, everything else. You kind of start that in advance, and then you blend it all together.
Wonderful. Let's go back a little bit to what we were talking about. Tell me, it also fascinates me in a certain way. What do you, given that you are a young tenor, upcoming tenor, how do you prepare a role? For example, I know that you're doing with us Faust in Boito Mefistofele. How do you start the process of getting ready for, well, I was going to say performance, but in our case, given that nobody's performing live, we're going to be filming it. How do you start the process? What do you do?
So I always start with the history of the opera. That's always where I begin with. I'm just a nut for history. I love knowing as much as I can about the composer, what was happening at the time, what inspired them to write the work. So for me, the history always begins first. I look at the history and then I go right to the libretto. Normally I have kind of a process, when I learn the score, I start with the libretto and I just go through the words, the poetry, figure out where the accents are going to fall. And then after that, I put it in with the rhythms of the music. I always kind of go through my rhythms with that. And then I start listening a little bit, so you have a good idea of what the sound is like, what the orchestra is going to be like, and then work on the piano, plunk those notes out. I do that for maybe about, depending on how long the opera is, I would say 2 weeks, 3 weeks, sometimes a month if it's a really challenging work. With Coppola's opera, it was like 3 months because it was a new work and very challenging. But yeah, I would say it's about roughly like about, 2 to 3 weeks of that. After that, I go to a coach, like a great coach, work with someone. And I think it's an essential. Like, I don't know how anyone could like not coach the music before going into rehearsal. Like for me, it's like absolutely necessary to coach at least the minimum of a good week with a good coach, and record everything. That way you hear if you make a mistake, you go back, you fix your mistakes. You also hear your sound. You hear sometimes what's coming out might be different than like what you're hearing in the space. Right. So, and that can be either good or bad. That can be sometimes for you, that can be against you. But I think it's super, super important to coach it, to go through the process, obviously, of plunking out your notes on a piano, and like all of us, right? I think that's everybody does it. But that's my process, my personal process for it.
Well, I mean, I'm sure I'm not anything new, but I think it would be also interesting for everybody else who this podcast to repeat that we are doing this opera. We are filming this opera because November 26th of 2020 it will be the 100th anniversary of Beniamino Gilli's debut at the Met. As far right. in Boitos Mephistopheles. It was a historic event for many, many reasons. Obviously, Beniamino Gilli is one of those beloved tenors from the past. And this started a very long career for him at the Metropolitan Opera Lisbon, who had a very famous...
The greatest tenor of all time for me, Gilli, hands down. For me,
great.
Like the best.
Great. I know a lot of people that they feel the same way like you, and
I mean, just if you listen to his art, I mean, it's so easy. That's what I love about the singers of that time, is that everything for me, when you hear them, sounds easy. It flows out. It has all the right accents in the poetry, the legato. They had a good understanding of. They were closer to the composer's time, because there are a lot of composers still living or had worked with people who worked with the composers. Right. So you have like that lineage, I feel like, with Gilli, where like, I don't know, anytime I listen to him, I always find something new about his recordings to appreciate. So easy thing.
So part of your let's say preparation, or part of what you do as a singer is going also back to the past and getting some references from your favorite tenor.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I mean, I always try. There's some tenors I go to specifically, like for a role. For example, if I'm doing a new role, I normally go to like my 3 favorites are Gueda, Bergonzi, and sometimes Krauss as well, and Pavarotti, of course. These are like.
I was going to say.
I was going to say Pavarotti, of course. I mean, how can you not? The problem is it's so perfect. Like, I mean, I can't try to do what he did, but especially for the music. Man, Gueda. I always look up a Gueda recording if I can of like any opera I'm doing. Whether it's Magic Flute. I really like his Traviata a lot. I mean, Gueda for me was another one. And a technician, a real guy who just understood his voice, understood his facility. Knew what he could do. He knew what he couldn't do, and like he ran with it. And a master linguist. He spoke like 7 languages, I think. I mean, God, like I speak like 2, like on a good day. So.
What are you doing now there? I cannot.
So anyway, I want to start now. Sorry, I'm going to get the cooking to worry about. I'm going to now add some black pepper to this grease from before, the fat.
Okay.
So I'm going to show you how I do it.
Yeah, turn the phone so we can see there. There is perfect.
Can you see me? All right.
Yes.
I'm going to lower it just a little bit.
Yes.
So I'm going to put the heat on. I don't want to do it too high for this because it is going to cook rather quickly.
Okay.
I'm going to add the black pepper now to this dish, like so. Stir it in. And I'm going to also add a little bit of pasta water to this.
Okay.
Like so. So that's going to start to heat up in a second. And for the pasta, what I do, actually at the end, I put it in, I let it cook, undercook just a little bit for the al dente, I throw it in with the grease, and then we're going to stir it up. That's my way of doing it.
Right.
If you choose to, you can totally cook it all the way through with the pot. That's totally fine. But my personal way of doing it, I like to, about when it's almost maybe 2 to 3 minutes before it completes, I throw it in with the grease. So it is cooking. And the black pepper is really going to add a nice, this aroma, flavor, a little bit of spice to it. It's really, really wonderful.
Wow.
That's pretty good stuff.
Yes. I wish I was there right now. You're making me very hungry.
It's I have to tell you, it's my first time cooking and doing an interview at the same time. So I apologize if I'm kind of all over the place. I'm trying to focus on my cooking.
No,
I gotta talk about opera. So I was kind of thinking of how I was going to do this. All right, how do I focus on like the times and like talk about opera at the same time? So, but I hope.
Don't feel the pressure. A small blog between friends. And
cool. So anyway, you see this is really getting to a nice boil here. This water. It's got the black pepper in there. Pasta should be done in actually about a minute or two.
Okay.
And what I'm going to do, the key to this dish, which you really got to watch for when you make it, is you don't want it to dry out. When you have Pecorino cheese, any kind of cheese, as soon as it hits a flame, it's going to start to dry very quickly. So my goal here, after the grease is cooked a little bit, I'll take the pasta, I'll mix it with the grease, I add the cheese. Make sure when you add the cheese, do not have your flame on. If you have a flame on or if it's a very high heat, it's going to immediately start to dry up the plate. So for me, you put the cheese in and also add pasta water. But I'll show you all this in a second.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So see, all this grease is really getting nice and cooked, all the fats from the guanciale. Allow it to kind of coat the pan a little bit all around. And I think at this point, I'm going to go ahead and add my pasta to it.
Okay.
So here we go.
Wow. Very... I love pasta, so right now I love pasta, so right now I'm in heaven. I'm like, I want to have some pasta.
So what you want to do, you want to make sure it's all nice and coated.
Okay.
So this really allows all the grease and the black pepper to coat in nicely. It cooks everything in. Not everyone can do this. Don't try it if you can't do it. I find it's kind of like a beckoning, like you kind of beckon someone over, and that's right. I don't know, I'm not professional, but that's kind of how I do it. And really get all that grease, the fat, nice and cooked in. You can add a little bit of pasta water, which I will do. Every time you make this dish, it'll be a little bit unique, a little bit different. Sometimes, if you need to add a little water to make it a little bit creamier, you do that.
Okay.
If it's too creamy, don't add any more water. It's really kind of by the eye, but I find a little bit of pasta water really helps the cream form. So anyway, we flip a little bit more, allow this pasta to be nice and cooked in, like so.
Wow.
Okay. Now, good stuff. Turn your heat off. As I said before, make sure when you put your cheese on, do not have the heat on. It's going to totally ruin your pasta.
Okay.
Give this a second to cool.
So how about the cooked guanciale? Are you putting it the last moment?
Yeah, in fact, actually, I add that. I first go with the pecorino. I put the guanciale, and then I kind of go a little, I kind of feel it out as I go. I tell you the truth. So for now, we'll put maybe half of a cup inside, like so.
Okay.
And then I flip, like so.
Okay. So you have put the pecorino in and you're flipping.
Exactly. Again, it's going to dry out very quickly if you don't add enough pasta water. So you might want to add a little bit of pasta water as you go.
Okay.
Every time it'll be a little different.
Right.
But I would definitely add some pasta water.
The flame is off, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So a little bit more of the cheese. So. I'm going to add my Parmigiano and my Guanciale.
Okay.
Boom. A little more pasta water.
Can you slightly turn your camera towards your stove?
Like which way?
Towards your stove. Can you turn your camera a little bit? Yes, perfect. Okay. Wow. I should learn to do that. I have never tried. Good for you.
Yeah, it's a really nice dish. It should be nice and creamy when you're done.
Mm-hmm.
And that cream will take a little bit of it takes a second to kind of, like it's still going to be a little bit wet, like right when you're finished making it. So give it maybe a minute or two to kind of thicken. It'll take a minute to thicken. But yeah, even as this, it's still like a wonderful pasta dish. And I'm going to plate it and show it to you.
Thank you, yes. Well, now you know what you're going to be making for me the next time I come to see you.
It better be soon, man. You better come over and visit me.
I mean, yeah, I know. We are all waiting to.
So sad, man. I can't wait. I really miss seeing all my friends. So anyway, we plate it like so. And for me, I like to put the guanciale right on the top. Kind of like a little cherry right on the top of it.
Okay.
Show you. So.
Okay.
Have to grate the Parmigiano Pecorino for sure to get this one right. And voila. Pasta alla gricia.
Wow.
Bucatini alla gricia.
Wow. Wow. It's beautiful.
As I said before, it is not for the faint of heart. It's kind of, definitely, you're going to get your calories when you make this dish. A lot of the grease from the guanciale, a lot of fats are coming out of there, but the flavor for me, after you make this dish, I feel like you just are like, what was I missing my whole life and not having this dish? I mean, it's awesome. And I think the Parmigiano for me, I know it's not in the authentic recipe, but the Parmigiano just adds a whole other layer of like cream and nuttiness to it that is great. You should try both ways. Try it the original way, try it this way, see what you like more, but I like it with the little Parmigiano. So now the best part, we have to try it, right?
Of course, I try everything that I do in this blog, then I try it and
Well, let's see how it turned out.
I publish it. Listen, before I leave you, because we are almost running out of time, I want to ask you something that I like to ask every one of my guests. What would you like the people to know about you? Surprise question.
About me?
Yes.
What can I say? I love life. I like many different things. I love guitar. To play guitar, it's another one of my hobbies. I've been doing it since I was 12. Mm-hmm. I love rock and roll. I love opera just as much as I love rock and roll. There's pretty significant love for both. I just found out that I was more suited for opera than rock and roll.
Right.
And man, I mean, like, I think life is just about like everything that we do. I think in some way like contributes to everything. So if you try your best to cook well, like in some ways, that's also when we try to sing beautifully in opera, try to perfect our art form. It's the same thing, we try to get things just right. What could have been better? What could be good this time? What's for the next time? So I feel like everything in life is just so related to each other. I don't know. Like you always try to find the similarities between whatever you do. So I'd say something about me. I just love so many different things in life, and I think everybody should. Be multifaceted, be out there, and then just try everything.
If I might add to all of this, because I can tell that I know you pretty well. You speak You're learning to speak Greek?
Ne. Boro na Milao, Rigo, Erinika. Moresi na Diovaso, na Mateno, Erinika. Ne. E posso parlare un po' in italiano anche?
Yes.
Scusatemi, non c'è perfetto, ma per me è un gran piacere di parlare in italiano.
Bravo. I am
Yeah.
so happy that we did that. Thank you so much. Thank you. It was, you know, wonderful to get to spend some time with you, and I will definitely see you in September for Mephistopheles.
That sounds great, Stefanos. Ciao bello, ciao.
Ciao.